Hello everyone. Before I start this video, I thought I would just add a little disclaimer to the beginning because I do talk about breaking figures and being a klutz in this video. But if you are ever buying a figure from me and you come across this video, be rest assured that the vast majority of my figures are in pristine condition. I mean, out of box, but still like as nice as they can be while being out of box. And if they are ever broken, I will make sure I disclaim that. I add a little disclaimer to my sales and price them accordingly. So if I'm ever selling and you come across this video, don't you worry. Most of my figures are not broken and I keep them in very, very nice condition. So anyway, just wanted to add that disclaimer so that this video doesn't like come back to like bite me in the butt later or something. So yeah, on to the video.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Gwyn Collects. So today's video is probably going to be a bit of a painful one, both for myself and for all of you. I'm going to be talking about all of the figures I have broken. And you may think, Gwen, you've only been in this hobby for what? 7 months? And I would say you're correct, but I am also a massive klutz. So, delicate scale figures and big klutz do not go very well together. And I must say, I've probably had more figure mishaps than most at this point in my collecting career, so ugh. Anyway, I thought this video would be a good way to kind of both highlight my struggles and my mistakes, but also to give you guys a good idea of what to look out for in figures so that when you are buying or pre-ordering or considering buying a figure, that you know kind of what to look for. And if you're really concerned about being a big klutz like I am and breaking your figures, you'll know kind of what is robust and what is dangerous for us clumsy people. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna go from the least bad breaks to the worst breaks in my collection. Let's get into it. Okay, so my least bad break in my whole figure collection is actually on my Fortitude Levi figure. Now, this one is actually one that's not my fault at all. This figure just broke on its own, so take that as you will. The Fortitude Levi has a few like really delicate little pieces, and the piece that broke off on my particular figure was actually the little like toggle thing on his boot, like the little like tie. He has ties that hang off the sides of his boots. And yeah, one of those just fell off. I looked at him on the shelf one day and I just saw the little toggle on the glass cabinet. And yeah, it just fell right off. And you'll see this in the next figure I'm going to talk about too, but I would highly caution against buying figures. Well, okay. It's not the end of the world if you buy them. Just know that if figures have really small pieces that have one part where they join to the figure, so say like that one little piece like just joins onto his boot, or in the next figure I'm going to talk about, it is a very small attach point as well. Just know that a gust of wind could come blow some of those pieces off. So they can be extremely delicate, and you need to be uber careful if you have teeny tiny little pieces hanging off a figure. The next figure that I broke, or that is broken in my collection, is actually one of the newest in my collection. It is my Cowboy Bebop Spike and Faye figure. Yes, I can hear the collective cries in the community, but I broke Spike's cigarette. When I was putting him together, my finger literally brushed past the cigarette. Like, I barely even touched it. And it just fell right off. And I was so upset because I bought the first gig set mainly for the, like, print on the glass behind them, but also, like, I liked the bonus heads. I liked Spike's, like, cigarette head and Faye's glasses heads. And I intended to display them with the extra heads. So I was extremely upset when I knocked his cigarette out of his mouth. Again, it's just like Levi where there's that tiny attach point on this tiny little plastic piece, and it just does not stay on very well. I actually looked on the My Figure collection page to see if anyone else had theirs break, and a lot of people actually had theirs come with the cigarette broken already. So I guess I was lucky that mine came unbroken and I just happened to break it. I don't know. That said, I was actually able to fix him, and I don't really think you can tell at all that it broke. I just put like the tiniest dab of super glue on it and like stuck it to his face. It was very stressful. I may be a klutz, but my hands are steady enough to do delicate surgery apparently on my figures. So I was able to glue it back on and it stayed so far. I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't blow on it. I think a strong gust of wind could knock it out of his mouth once again, but I was able to fix it and I think it looks fine. So I'm very pleased that I was able to fix it, but yeah, you really gotta watch out for those tiny pieces because they'll always fall off. All right, this next break is kind of this one is 100% my fault. I'm just an idiot, okay? Guys, please. I'm so stupid, okay? So, I bought my Erina figure a long time ago. I'll link the video, the haul where I got her. I think she was in one of like my first few videos I ever made, maybe my second video. And there's a few shots in there of her piece where there's like a clear plastic hand holding her foot. And after I took those shots, I was putting her up in my cabinet and I dropped the hand onto the ground. And now this hand is pretty small, maybe like this big, right? And it's clear plastic. It's like kind of translucent clear plastic, but my eyes are not amazing. And I have a pretty like textured floor, like a textured hardwood floor in the room that she was in. So I dropped the hand. It didn't break, I don't think. But then when I went to grab it, I like looked down and I stepped and I felt like a crunch. And my heart sank because that crunch was the clear plastic hand that I had just stepped on. And yeah, I broke off a couple of the fingers. Again, clear plastic hand, very small. The fingers were smaller than grains of rice and they're clear plastic. Like, there was no hope. I looked for so long to try and find those fingers to try and glue them back on and there was no hope. So luckily, the figure itself is not damaged at all. She is pristine. And I never actually intended to display her with the clear hand piece. So like, in reality, it doesn't really matter, but like in my heart, I know it's broken, and I feel like other figure collectors who have broken their figures and fixed them like know this. Like, you know it's fixed, and like you know you can't tell that it's broken, or you don't have the piece or whatever, but like you know in your heart that it's broken, you know, and it can never quite be the same. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but yeah, it sucks. I have the like broken hand just in the box, and I'm just like. I don't want to even think about it because it just makes me sad. But anyway, yeah. So that was my first figure break, and that was pretty sad. Next up, we have another figure break that was mainly my fault, but also I think poor design on the manufacturer's end, and it is my Misato Katsuragi figure by Union Creative. Now, the first issue with her on the manufacturer's end is that she's a very poorly balanced figure, just to begin with. Like, all of her weight is forward, and she doesn't have a base or anything, right? She isn't attached to anything, and all of her weight is forward. So if she's on like an uneven surface, or if she's just on something that's slanted too much, she will fall forward. Guaranteed she'll fall forward. Like, she just is very unbalanced, and the material she's made of is quite light. Like, her legs are light, and like her head and like her body are more heavy, I think. I don't know, she's just very poorly balanced, and yeah, so she'll tip forward, like guaranteed. And this becomes an issue when, say, you have her on a shelf and you bump the shelf because she's very tippy. I was actually cleaning my detail for reorganizing it, and I had her on the shelf and I had the door open, and I left the room for like a minute, and my mom walked into the room and didn't see the glass door open because it's a glass door, and she just didn't expect it to be there. And she walked into the glass door of my detail. Luckily, she wasn't hurt and the door didn't break, but it shook the detail enough that the Misato that was on the shelf just fell right out, fell onto the floor. And actually, she cracked her toes, like on the foot that's kind of sticking out. She cracked her toes, and you can see the cracks all along the toes. Luckily, none of her toes actually like broke off. They just kind of bent. So you can see the line, but it's like, if I'm just very delicate with the figure, the toes are still attached, which is good. And the back of her shoe got scuffed. So it's like, ugh, like it just sucks. The paint chipped off so easily. And then another time I was taking video footage of her and she was on my like rotating turntable, which big brain move here. I know she's tippy and I put her on a thing that moves, like I'm stupid. But anyway, she fell forward and she like scratched her knee and the paint just scratched right off. So yeah, she's extremely delicate. I still love her as a figure, but I don't know. I've heard iffy things about Union Creatives, like quality control as well. So it may be that like she just is kind of like the Union Creative thing. Like they're just not super robust figures, and like obviously I knocked them off shelves and stuff, so that's on me. But I think like I've kind of knocked around some of my other figures and they haven't been damaged, so I think it's a Union Creative problem as well as a stupid Gwyn problem. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Alright guys, the final figure that I broke. And this is by far the worst break I've had in any of my figures. This resulted in me actually replacing the figure entirely because there was really no salvaging it. And it is my beautiful Azusa. You can see her behind me here. When I went to film my K-On! Video, which I actually filmed at my aunt and uncle's house, because they have a really cool like hip setup, I thought, for filming it, and I think the video turned out really nice. I'll link it above. But as I was packing up all my K-On! Figures to take over there, I pulled Azusa off the base, and she was kind of firmly on the base. And you know when you like try to pull something off and you use a little bit too much force and it finally gives and you kind of get that like, I don't know, jolt of like force that you weren't expecting? Well, that's what happened, but I was sitting on the floor doing it, so when I pulled her off, she actually like hit the floor and it just like smashed the neck of her guitar. So the neck of her guitar actually broke it where her hand holds the guitar, her upper hand. So the strings didn't break, so I was kind of able to like reposition it and still go film the K-On! Video, but you can totally tell in the video that the guitar is broken. I'm gonna grab her right now and show you guys because it's a pretty bad break, and I feel like you guys just need to see the extent of the damage on this figure. Alright guys, here we have Miss Azusa. I've kind of positioned her guitar so it's still like in her hand, but yeah. All I can say is I'm an idiot. So if you guys have any advice on how to fix her, I feel like I should try. I did just end up buying a new one, but I don't know. It just seems like such a waste to have this cute figure and then have it broken, you know? Anyway, I'm an idiot, and this was probably this was 100% my saddest break. I was super upset about this. Luckily, that Azusa popped up on Ami Ami a few days later, so I got super lucky there, but man, I was so upset about this figure. This is actually something that can extend to all of these K-On! Figures. I love to talk about how much I love them, but they are extremely delicate, and it is known in the community that they're very delicate. I mean, they are quite old as well. Like, these ones are about 10 years old, so they are not the most robust figures ever. They look amazing, but even things like their bases often will break, especially on Azusa. She's the worst, I think. And Mio's pretty bad as well. The jumping ones are pretty bad for just breaking right off their bases. So as much as I say these are fantastic figures, and I still totally think they're so delicate. And if you are thinking about picking up the K-On! Set, keep that in mind. This shouldn't be a good thing, but like at least they're not super expensive. Like they are not cheap, don't get me wrong, but like I was able to luckily replace this Azusa with one from Ami Ami for about $50. But I was heartbroken about this. I really do think I can glue her though. I think I can fix it. I just have to work up the courage to do it. And then maybe I'll think about, I don't know. If I can fix her, maybe I'll think about giving her away or something. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do at this point, but for now I'm just gonna be sad about her because it just sucks a lot. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I don't know, maybe this video is just gonna be painful for everyone. I know I personally, when I do break my figures and when I have in the past, it is kind of nice to look online and see other people's stories of broken figures. It's almost like a kind of like kinship, like I'm not alone. So I want you all to know that you can be insanely careful. I'm super careful, but I'm just a klutz, and life happens and figures get broken. It's not the end of the world, and I think it just makes our collections a little bit more unique, and we all have stories to tell about our figures. So if you guys have ever broken a figure, please tell me in the comments down below to make me feel better about my inability to keep figures from breaking, apparently, because oh my god, I'm so bad. I break all my figures, like, well, not all of them, like 5 of them, but still. Anyway, I hope you all have a very wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!